But at the time, and when I first went to Big Rapids, there was no collective bargaining. But George Romney Sr., when I'd been there, I think 3 years, 4 years, I guess it was, he passed a collective bargaining law. And so the last 2 years I was there, Michigan had a collective bargaining law, and I was on the negotiating team. There were lots of teachers at Big Rapids who had taught there for years, who by any standard didn't make very much money. And I don't remember the exact amounts, but there probably, the first year we bargained a contract, probably every teacher got a $2,000 raise. And we tried to give the biggest raises to the most senior teachers. Probably a big raise before that would have been $500. And nobody got family health insurance. And that year, everybody, the school board paid help, didn't pay for it, but they provided a group health insurance plan and probably paid, I don't know, 15, 20% of the cost, 25% of the cost of it, maybe. The school district was a really good school district. And the administrators were decent humans. But the superintendent only had one foible. He always, if a parent came in with what he considered to be a complaint, he even though they went to the principal first, he also talked to them, and he would send the parent back to the principal, but it was everybody knew that he was involved in parental complaints, and lots of times teachers just felt that he encouraged the parents to think that the incident was more important by listening to them, the parents, than just saying to the parents, you really ought to go talk to the teacher first. And so that was a big deal. And the teachers wanted a provision in the contract that if a parent came in with a complaint against a teacher and went to a principal or to the superintendent or whoever, that they'd be directed to go talk to the teacher first. But a lot of those teachers had taught in that school district 20, 25 years. And some of them were really good teachers. You could just see that they, in the discussion in the teacher conference room and in the lunchroom, was different than the year after they had got a $2,000 raise. I mean, not everybody got the same raise, but the teachers, they just said, look, you've got a lot of good teachers here. There are some teachers that aren't as good as others. If you want to evaluate them, you ought to evaluate them. If you want to increase expectations, you ought to. But you've got some really good teachers, and they deserve to be paid more than you're paying them. And a lot of them in a college town had master's degrees. And they had a couple of PhDs teaching in the high school. The teachers elected who they wanted to be on their bargaining committee. So I was one of the people that they nominated and elected. But the committee had a couple of old timers too. They had one woman who was an elementary school teacher, and they had one high school female teacher. So I think there were 5 or 6 of us on the bargaining committee, and I think there were 3 men and 2 women. It was an interesting the first year was very interesting because um, there were a lot of teachers that had issues. I mean, I don't mean that they were going to strike over them, but they had issues that they wanted the bargaining committee to deal with, and we sent out a survey to every teacher in the school district, got a list of every issue that they had, and there were some issues.